September. Its agenda date, time, and location were properly announced. Thank you, everyone, for coming out. We will start off with the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of June 23rd, 2025. Is there a motion to approve? Katie, is there a second?
I'll second.
Chuck, any corrections, questions?
I just noticed one thing under call to order. It says Mrs. Schneider, Random Lay. We're just missing a K. I don't know if that's something we
Oh, I can fix it.
mentioned. Yeah.
Anyone else?
Katie says she has to read it closer now. Good catch.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. That takes us to notifications of donations.
And just got a really nice email from Donors Choose. We know every month we have different staff that are getting recognized for things that they've fundraised for. And as we got to June 30th, the Donors Choose told us that our staff had raised collectively $43.65. So just a shout out. Those are all little things, little books, little libraries, little mats, all those little things that helped us with our budget. And as budgets get tighter, just wanted to thank them for their time in making that happen.
Very nice. All right, next is payment of the bills. Is there a motion to approve the transactions for the month of June in the amount of $765,598.78?
So moved.
Chuck, is there a second?
I'll second.
Rainey, any questions?
I did have some earlier, but I emailed Patty and Mike and they got back to me super quick. And I don't know if that's something we mentioned.
Yeah, I think the Luxembourg one is, there's a couple, I was one of the staff members, Lizzie, was also, Colden was reimbursed. That was all from the Luxembourg grant, that was, donated to us. So currently, as we've been seeding that program with other schools, our donor has been giving that money to our district, and then we've been reimbursing schools and doing things. Patty, out of the kindness of her heart, is doing that, because we're always the district that kind of helps that stuff happen. Our hope is that by the time we get to next year, we will actually pull that out, and our donor has asked that we start kind of a business that is going to work with the Laux Museum, the Luxembourg Cultural Museum, and work with that. So they appreciate the seeding. We've been able to do it to make sure it's happened the last 2 years. That will clean up our books, but thanks to Patty to make that happen. So as you see that was just airfare reimbursement. I think the Eiffel Tower, the district credit card wouldn't work in the Eiffel Tower for our kids, so Lizzie used her credit card to do that. So just those little things were kind of tough. What was the other one? I forget what.
It was the St. John's for gym space.
Oh, yes. So because of some of the fixes that needed to be done in the front with some of the block and things like that, we've been reusing the St. John's gym last month and this month. It's something we'll be in conversation with our friends at Myron on who pays for that, since that's something that we need to look at. So we're paying it now. We'll see what happens with that.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And the cash summary,
You can see Patty's really busy in June, right? I mean, look at all the DPI, all the different things that she needs to do on top of everything else. So, yeah, no. I think we're gonna do a budget report later on. We can kind of see how 24, 25 is wrapping up. And right now, things look like we're right on track to where we're supposed to be for that budget, and looking forward to looking to the 25, 26 budget.
okay. And no comments from one?
We have Gary, regarding the development.
Oh, great.
Well, this isn't a big fancy thing, but I just wanted to make sure that I know you're planning for an open house for the newly remodeled school district, that it is at a date and times when everybody can come. I'm thinking not just the school community now, but everybody, because everybody had a vote to make this thing happen. Now, this sounds like ancient history. November 8th, 2022 is when the voters approved this whole thing. And it was only 54 to 46%, so it wasn't really a landslide. But people other than those in school had to vote for it to pass. So I'm just offering my thoughts that want to make sure that you reach out to everybody. And just to give you an example, on Friday night, I was at the Adel softball, and an older gentleman, older than me, came up to me and he asked, "What's in that new thing in the front?" So there's interest out there in what's going on. And just as a side thing to this too, now that you have some new spaces, we have to have names for them. So, in like last spring, there's some communication from the school. It looks like you have the entrance, the office, and then that bigger hallway there, I think is called the foyer. Or at least that's what I got from the school messages. But I think you have to come up with a name for that gym or slash cafeteria or whatever.
We're calling it the activity center,
Okay.
because it has multiple uses, so there's activity in it. And then the foyer is the activity room floor, is what we're calling it. So, one of the last parts of the project, which is in our referendum, is signage. I think we struggled our exterior and interior signage for just wayward finding and things like that. There's a good budget to make sure when people pull in, they know how to get to the middle school library, how to get to the high school, all that other stuff. So that is, so our open house date is October 8th. We're doing from 4:30 to 7, so we wanted to do it at night, so we're hoping our community can come in. We probably should talk about putting a flyer in the sounder to make sure all of our friends know that. Working with the chamber of doing a ribbon cutting and kind of making it a really cool event. So we're giving ourselves some time, because although substantial completion won't be until August 22nd, we have a feeling that we'll be doing some of the stuff for another month or so after. So those are where we're at with it. And what is from 4:30 to 7? You think that's a good time for the community?
Sure.
Okay.
And if you have all those details worked out, maybe at the fall festival, you could have a booth, just like you have before the referendum, maybe have little cards to hand out, that so I haven't seen the whole thing, whatever.
It's full of all kinds of good ideas today, Gary. I love it. Yeah.
So that's the extent.
Okay. No. Thank you.
Thank you. Referendum discussion.
We have a lot of updates. You can look around. Things are looking great. Substantial completion is still set for August 22nd. We have a lot of furniture. You can look out in the hall. There's a lot of work still being done. So, but everything is where it should be at the time that we are. So I would say we're pretty pleased with where we're at.
Anybody have any questions on where we're at?
Are people using the workout center?
It will be opening, in, what did we talk about? I think the last week of August is when they open everything. There's still some weights and some other stuff. We actually had, one of our soundproofing had a little issue that has to be put up. So, yeah, the hope is the week of teacher in service, we will open up, and, we will have a presentation at our next board meeting about the fitness center, our kind of 24-hour fitness thing that we want to do with staff members. I just talked to Jake today, we got a meeting, so we'll have that. That's the kickoff Monday, so we can let staff and our community know how they can use the fitness center, how we can get in, all that good stuff. So that'll be coming next week.
Anyone else? All right, building reports.
All right, we're gonna start out with Strong Classrooms. Over the summer, we have our paraprofessionals that are getting trained in the science of reading, especially at the elementary level, so that way they're even more equipped to help intervene with student needs. So very excited about that. We have professional development for the new math curriculum at the middle school or at the elementary, but it's also gonna be professional development for that math curriculum at the middle school with our new teacher that's coming on board. So we're people to give, the staff the training they need.
And our next is Strong Culture. We're meeting in August with our PBIS team, and I think a lot of exciting things will come out of that meeting, but one of the things I'm looking forward to is Unitas, our program that we've been kind of developing and piloting in the early elementary. We're hoping to include 3rd through 5th grade this year. And with that, we think we can tie it into like building-wide assemblies and those type of things to really kind of connect to them.
And just a reminder, Unitas is our character education, so taking time to talk about what does it mean to be kind, what is it nice, to be respectful, and actually taking that time to teach our students those key concepts.
And so then moving on to Strong Culture, we have the Kinder Fair. This was an idea from Cece Dom and Stacy Reed and Christine Spruce about getting our parents in early and kind of introducing them to the space. We know that some of it might not be finished yet, but just starting to get them in the building to ask questions, talk about what they're going to learn, and just starting to help families feel really comfortable. And then also coming from CC and a parent, Bobby Joe Clue, they approached me about a parent advisory committee. So we have a meeting set for August 11th. And then again, just helping to bridge any communication that we can with parents to help them feel more supported and know what's going on in their office school. And then I wanted to give one more shout out for Strong Community, and that is the LPI show, The One on the Roof, starring Sarah Stella. As Sherma Sarah. Yeah, it's from Sarah. It's this weekend, so we hope you can come out. There's a lot of high schoolers in it. They're doing a really great job.
And you're helping out with the music part, right?
I am, yes. Yeah, so you'll see me on backstage for it. So.
And then lastly, strong, student acknowledgement. We wanted to bring Mackenzie back. She did awesome at the Nationals. I'm gonna turn it over to her to talk a little bit about her experience.
You should be good at this kind of stuff now, right? Like you're naturally ranked, so this should be good.
So I attended the National Leadership Conference earlier this July in Anaheim, California, and it was nothing short of an incredible experience. When I wasn't enjoying the palm trees in Disneyland, that's great. I was in so many workshops based off of professional development and leadership development and college and career readiness. I had people guide me through the college application process, which is super cool, like going to the meeting as someone going off to college and looking at what my future holds. I think I learned more, however, outside of those spaces, outside of the exposition hall, just going up and talking to people. Like, I'm a naturally introverted person, so like going up and initiating a conversation is kind of scary, but being there alone kind of forced me to do that. And I got to talk to people older than me, people doing what I want to do in the future. I got to learn from them and see what their success stories look like. And then I also got to talk to amazing high schoolers my age that are doing incredible things. And they serve as an inspiration, and it's just super rejuvenating to like have a conversation with someone who is as passionate as me about what I'm trying to pursue. So that was a great experience overall. I think the only thing that beats that part though is the competition itself. I went into nationals with my hopes set very low. Like I was surprised when I made it past stage. That's 2 nationals. So I was proud of the work that I put in. I put in a lot of work. And I was super happy to be there. I was just gonna have fun. And I was gonna take it as a learning experience. I went in and competed in front of a panel of judges. And it was definitely scary, but I somehow made it past that round. I looked up at the finalist slips at 5 a.m. the next morning, not thinking I was gonna be on there, but like, why not check? And sure enough, my name was on that list. It was incredible. There's 4 entries per state, per category that you're in. So I was competing probably with 120-ish people. So to make finalists was a huge accomplishment for me. And then I presented again in a bigger conference room. It was open seating, so that was a little bit more scary, but I mean, I guess it's preparing me for this. And I competed again, and I earned 8th, which got me the chance to walk the national stage, representing not only Wisconsin, but a small school like Brandon Lake. So that was super fun.
Any questions? And remember, you were here, was at the May board meeting, right? To approve you to go to California. So this was a way of saying thank you and congratulations.
Thank you.
Did you make any friends that you will continue to?
I saw so many people. I got a lot of people's Instagram, LinkedIn connections. I was a little networking person over there. My phone is full with probably like 50 new people from across the state or country, and it was great. My roommate that was sharing the hotel room next to me, I think we latched onto each other the very first day, and then we were able to like go to the exposition hall together, so I wasn't alone. But it was amazing. It's much fun.
Well, thank you for doing such a great job
Yeah.
representing
Thank
this
you.
little school.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we're very proud of you.
Yeah, it was crazy because all of the schools there on the finalist list from Wisconsin were from bigger schools, Muskego, McWanago, and I looked at the list and like I'm the only like smaller school person here, so that was crazy to see. And yeah, got the small school culture here, and it really a lot. So thank you.
Thank you, nice
Thank
job.
you.
Thanks for coming in again too. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Great, that's all you have? Okay, great. And board committee, budget met, and we have some things later on the agenda, food service, audit, well, the pre-audit, and, budget.
The pre-audit and the budget stuff would be just discussed now. It's not.
Oh, okay, so we don't have anything on the, because we did talk about that in budget, that you might be presenting something, but there's nothing listed.
Just to be discussed.
Oh, okay.
I can do kind of the highlights. So,
Okay, thanks, Kim.
food service, because do we have to approve the food service?
Yes,
Okay, that'll come up later. Just general, if you weren't in the committee meeting, the pre-audited, so our budget for 24-25 after Patty's done everything, paid all the expenses. We say pre-audited because, our auditors are working, started today. We're about $19,000 in the green, which when you're talking about $11 million-ish, budget, that's getting it really, really close, right? So, after the audit is done, our goal is always to put a little bit more in the fund balance, but truly, if you don't spend all that's allocated, it actually impacts our next year. So I would say no matter what happens with the audit, we're really close to zero, right? Sometimes something comes and it'd be like, oh, you didn't make these payments here. If we end up 19 positive or 19 negative, I would say that's pretty close to zero when you're talking the millions we are. So, just a really good job. This was a challenging budget, Patty will say. Our staff wanted, new curriculum. We wanted on top of reading, we're looking at math curriculum. We're doing a lot of things. So we were able to be really creative and make this work. And then as we look at the 25-26 budget, I know, last week I sent you that article about how the state of Wisconsin is falling behind the nation when it comes to funding schools, right? 20 years ago, we were 11th in the nation, and this year we're 26. So we were nearly in the top 10 20 years ago, and now we're in the bottom half of the nation on how we're funding schools. The nice thing is, in Random Lake, we're finding ways without doing operational budget, not doing any of those, of giving raises going forward. The next 2 years are gonna be tight, but we have a plan for next year that we feel good with and be able to give everyone raises. We're gonna see that later. We're just gonna keep doing the things that we're doing, finding ways to reduce expenditures and trying to get as much as we can to our staff. So yeah, that's kind of the update, but everything paid, raises, everything else. We have another $19,000 to spare for 25-26. So it's gonna be another. What's that? Oh, it'll be 9,000.
all right, and administrative and support staff meeting met,
We'll talk about that stuff comes later.
and then again with teacher negotiations, and that'll be on later. Which later is now. So the 2025-26 teachers base wage agreement is a 2.95% increase. Anything else you wanna say on that?
Anything the committee wants to say before I pop in? Or who's on the,
Sure, I was on the committee. You know, we recognize that we have a two-dimensional matrix that not everybody has, not all districts have. And the 2.95 is linked to the consumer price index. It's no more, no less, so we're keeping up with the cost of life with all of our instructors. One of the things that I wanna make sure we capture though, in the two-dimensional matrix is that top left box. I wish we had the matrix here, I don't know if we have it as part of the,
pivot teacher compensation model? Should probably pull it up.
I think it'd be nice to discuss, just to make sure everyone understands what's going on, because, you know, as we discussed in our committee, we have opportunities that not all, districts have. One is an increase, that I think is somewhat common based on the number of years that you're here, that goes down the two-dimensional scale. Across the two-dimensional scale is an increase based on the number of college credits above and beyond the minimum that you achieve. And I personally am in big favor of that because I want to see people reaching for excellence. Being in education myself, I think people, you know, there's a carrot there to reach out for excellence. So I think that's our matrix there. So the 2.95 goes to that top left box there. That brings our, thanks. I don't have my sunglasses here. Oh, that helps, but it makes me look like I'm trying. So that top left box is the 46,328. That's a new instructor, a new teacher right out of college with your bachelor's degree. That's the B. And so I'm in favor of this, but one of the things that I would like to see as we have these conversations is an understanding of what our specific, not a box, but what our specific teachers are getting in terms of increased compensation. So somebody is in row F, column B18. And I would like to see, you know, though that person who maybe moved from B9 to B18, and then got the $1,300 increase, which is what's happening across the board in all those boxes. I'd like to see what percentage our instructors, our teachers are getting, just so that we have that understanding and can speak intelligently to it when we get phone calls, because we don't have that data. I'm in support of what's proposed, but I hope that explains what our conversations were all about without getting too complicated.
And just in general, so our starting, it says the row A, column B, right, where it says 46,328. Last year, that number was 45,000. So, we pushed to get that to 45. Now our next push is we say this to our staff to get to 50, right, and keep moving there. One of the things on top of that, in that $1,300 was increased in every one of those cells. So if you go down to the M36 column L, that's 79,464. That was 78,100 and something last year, right? One of the things this year, a vast majority of our staff went a lane or a row down, because every 3 years staff can move down, and then you can also move to the right. So on top of that 1,300, I would say a majority of the staff, because this was the year that a majority were, got the $1,300 plus they got the increase of going down. And if they did anything and moved to the right, they could have actually 3 lanes of increased wages from last year to this. So it's a little bit of a budgeting. We have staff that are moving quite quickly and embracing this. You can move from a column B9 to B18. We are one of the few places that you don't have to take 9 college credits to do that. You can do a personal growth plan and come up with a project that every 3 years you can move, and we kind of anoint those credits. So I feel like every staff member is treated like talent, and we figure out what their talents are, and we help them move along with their pay structures.
And one thing in the committee we discussed briefly was because we want to remain competitive with area school districts and others, it's how do we rate or how do we compare to other districts? And I think you addressed that briefly. If you could just,
Yeah, I would say, the max I know of a starting wage is right around that 50. Sheboygan might be 51. Most of our friends that are our size are right around that 45, 46, 47. So our starting wage is right there. Our top wage, getting at 80,000 there, I would say is probably pretty comparable to most districts our size. So,
and I thought 6 years ago or whatever, that we were a little behind. I think we've made progress in going forward, catching up and.
when we went to this, I was saying that you and I were talking outside, when Act 10 happened, we always had a structure like this. But there were some teachers that were stuck in the, let's say, the row B and then the column B plus 9. If you got hired there in 2010, there's some staff that stayed in that cell for 7 years, and the only increase they got was CPI. And there was no movement, and most districts went to that. And this salary schedule was nothing more than a place to start in our district, and then you never got to move. And we decided that's not the kind of district we want. We want to find ways. Now, I will tell you, we have less staff this year than we did last year, because through attrition and some other ways, we found ways to afford this. But we actually took some of our staff that should have been in row D that were still in row A. We've moved them multiple times over the last 7 years. And when we went to this, we said we'd only put money into the grid once every 3 years to help pay for movement. We've actually put money in the grid each of the last 4 years. So we're trying to not only do what we said, but do more than what we said. So, could we do more? Yeah, we're always trying to, right? You know, I think, honestly, you go to school for 4 years and your teacher, I think that should be a $60,000, at least a $55,000 place if you're gonna have that kind of college loans and stuff, but, we're working towards it.
It's a question of time, sorry, because I completely misunderstood the whole distributed uniformly. And I thought it meant 2.95 uniform distributed. I didn't realize that it was just based on 1328. So I was thinking that, because I remember having that discussion last year, right, that people who are down in plus 36 and 34 to 36, right, like their percent increases, oh yeah, like 1.5%, right?
Unless they move down.
Right,
Yeah.
right, but I guess I feel like why is 2.95 as a CPI something we should apply to that A, B cell and to support staff and to administration and to whoever, like everybody got the 2.95, right? But not any teacher was not in that very first cell. Everybody else is a little on the 2.95. Why is that? Why is that right?
Because if we had to do the math between the teachers that are moving down, the teachers that are moving to the right, and who's getting added, I would say raises are over. And that's what Brian was getting to. And we're gonna calculate that for you. Especially this year, there may be some years that's under CPI, but I would say with the vast majority, because this is the year that everyone that's been with us for the last 7 years, everyone that's been with you 7 years or longer, or 4 years longer, taking 4 years ago, they moved down a row on top of that. So,
Somebody who's been here with 5 years, 6 things, that's gonna be the issue that we were talking about before, so then they stay where they're at there.
unless you're moving to the. So we'll get those numbers and kind of see how we can break it down.
So
It's
that's
tough
not
because we can't do,
Right, that's teachers.
and we can't do total cost, because even with raises, everybody moving to the right, everybody moving down, through attrition, our salaries next year are actually $100,000 less than raises. So we're finding ways to tighten up so we can get raises. And I think I've been pretty transparent where it's not about throwing money into education. We know just throwing money at education does not fix education. It's about systems, it's about structure, it's about the things that we do. And the more we can be efficient, the more we can pay everybody. And our goal is You know, when Patty gets it within $20,000 to $30,000, that's perfect, because we don't get any bonuses for saving extra money, right? We just need to make sure we spend our budget and do it wisely and do it in a way that's our community appreciates.
So that's what you're asking, but it was like each,
Right.
maybe they don't need names of teachers, but like each teacher, how much their actual increase is gonna be, is something that we can get.
So I'm interested in the minimum, like by specific example, the maximum, is, you know, in terms of, you know, somebody maybe going down a row and over 2 or 3, you know, minimum, maximum, and what the average is, so that we can speak intelligently to not just a matrix, but what's actually happening on the ground with our teachers.
So we just started audits today, so, if nothing else, is we wanna talk about this, we will have something for the next board meeting, and we can kind of show, let us figure out how we would show that in a way. We could go, there's a couple different ways I'm thinking about how, so. Yeah, that's why you're the.
So just to clarify, your question is you wanna know the percentage increase for each teacher, not
Right.
just the amount?
Right.
Okay,
Well, yeah, I guess so.
cause everybody's getting the 1,328
Right,
minimum.
but 1,328 is less than 2.95%. If they don't move. But if they move one of both of those ways, it could be higher than that, so maybe they are almost all.
So do we want an average of what everyone's average is? Is that the number you'd wanna see, or, like I said, give us some time, we'll give you a couple different ways that you can see it.
I think the average is interesting, but sort of like, is there anybody who's only getting 1328?
And there is, yeah. And there's some that are probably getting 7.
And
Both
what
of us.
percentage of the salary is that 1320? Because at max, it's 2.95 in the top left. But, you know, how many people are just getting maybe, you know, I use the example 1.75 or something.
Anyone else on either of those two topics, the pre-audit or the initial 25-26 budget? Because there's nothing else on the agenda for either of those topics.
So just to clarify again, so the initial 25-26 budget, we're good with all of the raises that are proposed in here.
Yes. And we can get to, there's some restructuring of some different areas, some places that, our kitchen staff, we did some reclassification that benefited them. Charter busing, we did some other things, so yes, there's some other things that we tried to fix and make it. So everything, we are in a place of, we have a balanced budget with those things.
Okay. Any other questions before we get a motion going on here? Is there a motion to approve the 2.95 increase?
So we'll
Brian, is there a second? Chris? Any questions or discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Then we have the model, which is this,
Is the grid, yep.
which is what we just looked at. Is there a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Chuck, is there a second? Katie, any questions or discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Then we have a notification for the 25-26 hourly staff base wage. Administration has approved a 2.95 for the hourly staff for 25-26. Anyone have any questions on that? Then we also have the same for the 25-26 salaried staff compensation, the 2.95. Anyone have any questions on that? Again, these are just notifications, not actions.
I have a good question, I don't,
Sure.
like, we don't have anything like the grid for this, right, like, nobody's going up because of just being here a certain amount of time. have it just all different?
We do have some areas, that, some of our support staff have, agreed on where they are. Do you have an example? There you go.
So
Yeah.
seniors served.
Yeah.
So somebody, they went, like if this was gonna be their 8th year, and then you get the 2.95 plus above. So why is it different for them and the teachers? Like how come this whole grid is changed by 2.95? Teachers, because of the education part 2, and having both, like,
Because this, you're fixed into only moving because of years, so this is really I guess in a way you would say this is a one-dimensional way to move, the other way has this. It encouraged, I think, and I will tell you, conversations that Susan and Becky have with our staff, when they come to us and say, hey, I'd like to see myself at this pay raise, we have a meeting coming up, right? Like, okay, what is something you're passionate about, what are some projects, what are things you're doing? We've been able to acknowledge really great things that our staff are doing and give them college credits to move. It is that second dimension that isn't out there. So it has us really, when you think about talent management and look at somebody and say, you know what, we've had some people, to be honest with you, that have been doing outstanding. I look at Lori Bierman back in the day, where we're like, well, you've been doing this for the last 3 years, so we recognize that and then move because we have some staff that are doing so. So it's really helped us acknowledge those people that go above and beyond and use the college credit system that we can.
Any other questions? All right, administrative contracts. This was, committee, right before. Anyone want to speak to that? Or get a motion?
Sure, so we talked a little bit about, I mean, I think the motion is what we'll do this, but we talked a little bit about maybe whether these things should be tied to some of the stuff we get out of the 360 evaluations that we're planning on doing next year. Or maybe.
This spring, yeah,
Yeah,
2026, yeah.
Yeah, this year. I guess. But yeah, so in February, we're gonna do those, right, and so then maybe we would talk about whether that has consequences to the commissioner raises or anything like that. But the things that are really. Would I be comfortable with this?
Okay, so you want to make a motion to approve the 2.95 for administrative contracts? Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Chuck? Any questions or discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have the food service fees for 25-26. Amy has asked for a 10-cent increase in all categories for breakfast and lunch throughout elementary, middle school, and high school. Is there a motion to approve? Chris, is there a second? Katie? Any questions or discussion?
Do we know if this reflects an increase in cost? We held a study last year, right?
Patty, did you say about did last year, do you know if we had an increase last year?
Lunch service,
On the actual, the amount that we charge per meal.
Yeah.
I don't think we did last year. We kept it solid because we were adding breakfast. So we charged for breakfast again this year after COVID, so we added that. So I'm pretty sure that I'm looking at last year and I don't see.
I don't remember.
I don't think so because we did
Yeah. I will say, I was just on with other superintendents, and that $3 range is really where everybody is. So I feel like we're really kind of in there. And, you know, the other, we talked about, food is more expensive, right? I mean, there's a lot of things that are, when this 10 cents allows us to even maybe get a little better quality, some other things. There's a lot of things with the federal lunch system that is kind of messed up for our kids. And this helps us keep paying wages in that area. Good food, I think with our new facilities there, we're gonna be able to do some kind of fun stuff. So,
There's order supply. Some order supplies.
Nothing's getting cheaper, we know that, right? So,
More healthy options too.
yeah, well, I mean, there's a salad bar now, you know, and then that's been the last couple of years she's added that, so yeah. Unfortunately, and I don't get on a soapbox with this, there's so many high carb foods that meet the requirements of the federal government. You know, as a family, my daughter went to a school where she got free lunch, we chose not to because it was just so many carbs and so many, like, Pop-Tarts and things like that that you wouldn't say would be healthy, right? So, we're always trying to fight those federal requirements and still meet those guidelines, because I don't know how Amy does her job, I'll be honest with you. To meet these and talk about what a reimbursable meal is and all that other stuff, it is just a whole nother set of requirements that federal government, guess what, doesn't. So, yeah.
Anyone else, any other questions? We do have a motion, correct? Alright, all those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Renewal of existing line of credit, this is something we do annually. Is there a motion to, renew our existing line of credit with, Summit Credit Union, formerly Commerce State Bank?
So moved.
Chuck, is there a second? Awesome. Chris, any questions or discussion?
How long has it been since we needed a short-term borrow? Yeah, so, that's something that we got rid of. We still like having this, right? But, our fund balance is healthy enough that we don't need to do that. Our first year, we had to borrow to pay for everything, so we're in a good place with that. But you just never know, so knock on wood.
Right, I do have a quick question. Have we considered our local bank, Collins, just because they're located randomly?
We have, we've had conversations, but some of the things that they offer, don't give us the protections we need, so.
Any other questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We also need to designate an official depository. In the past, we've, used Collins and Summit. Is there a motion to continue with that?
So moved.
Chuck, is there a second?
I'll second.
Rainey? Any questions or discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We just have a placeholder for staff resignations. We don't have any of those. Great. And that takes us to, new professional staff. Is there a motion to approve Elizabeth Edwards for the high school English language arts teacher and Charlie Reiki as the high school tech ed teacher? Charlie has been it's been around for a couple of years
Yes.
already.
Charlie graduated from here, got a full ride to Lakeland for the leadership award, and came back here and has been a full-time sub, helped out in some other areas, and now he is going to officially be a full-time teacher starting in the 25-26 school year. So it's kind of fun, very fun.
Is there a motion to approve? Chris, is there a second? Amy, any questions or discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have notification of support salaried staff resignations. Of Bobby Norlander, the library and media center support for 3 years. And Sydney Walks, the social media design and content specialist. We thank them for their years of service and wish them luck
Very much so, yes.
in their new endeavors. New salaried staff. We have Jill Hartwig, being reclassified as the district daily living lead teacher. Jill's been around for quite a while.
She retired from teaching and then was a para, and now we found a very nice way to I feel compensate her for her experience, but she doesn't have to do the paperwork. So, we kind of, again, trying to find different people and different ways to make things fit, and, really excited about, having her and Val working together in their daily living, in one of the coolest daily living suites in Sheboygan County now, put together, so, yes.
What's this?
It's for our students that have intellectual disabilities. So daily living has, we have a washer and dryer, we have a full kitchen, it looks like a suite, we have a bedroom, and, so, it's a combination. We put it together, our elementary, our K through 5, and then our middle school, high school are all connected, and, now as they're ready, as they're functionally ready, they can learn some of those different skills, and we brought everybody together. It's a little better staffing, right? Because different students have different needs, different bathrooming issues and things like that. So they have their own shower, they have the bathroom, they have a lot of things. So, looking at help having them do functional jobs, right? Like they can do laundry, do things like that for the district and other things. So it's coming together very nicely. It's been a journey. It's been a journey. But yeah, we're in a really good place.
New support staff? What do you want to say about that?
I think one of the ways, that we have been able to meet our budget is finding really talented staff that want to work on a part-time basis, right? Full-time can be expensive. We're fortunate to have some really great staff that are coming that can work, 5 or less hours a day. So we're doing things a little bit differently to help us, and I think, it's going to be great. You're gonna see 2 of these individuals at our front office, either in the morning or afternoon. Billy actually was my administrative assistant at my previous district, who was retired and said, hey, wanna try this out? So, cool to have her back, and our 4K, we're doing something a little different with that too. So having one teacher and then paras, to get more adults working with our kids. So just some creative ways of making what we have even better. So hang tight and listen, and please give us any feedback, good, bad, or otherwise.
Who's parents are both full-time? Or those are part-
All these would be part-time.
they're going to share?
Yeah, one in the morning, one in the afternoon.
All right, and the paid co-curricular coaches advisors for 25-26. Anything new, different? All look pretty.
Jen Stricker's new this year for volleyball. She's coming, and that comes with a lot of experience, bringing some really great, JV, coaches with her. Everyone else, Kathy Hughes is doing cross country. Did Kathy do last year?
Kathy did middle school, Nikki
Okay.
is taking over for Natalie.
Oh,
High
that's right,
school
yeah.
while Natalie's on maternity.
Okay,
Yeah.
and volunteers for co-curriculars, we have, Kim Spady for high school volleyball. And then, every year we have to, have notice of our academic standards that are adopted by the board. So that's just an FYI as well. And then we need to
Can I
establish,
actually mention something on that?
sure,
Like, are we able to look at some of these standards? What's popping in my mind is, I had a discussion with some 20-somethings in my home, and they hadn't heard of things like the Oklahoma City bombing, and some of the more like recent historical events that have shaped America. And even, I think somebody said, a lot of it, even like in American history class, there's a lot of European history taught in it. I'm just really curious about, the actual standards and
Able to pull up any of our standard grids that we have? Kim, I don't know if we've been spending a lot of time on our standards, making them parent-friendly, making them, out there and forward-facing. We have the ones that our teachers read and use for report cards, but we also, if you have it, I'm trying to give you, if you don't have it, it could be a presentation we could do in the future as well.
I could prepare something a little bit
Okay.
more comprehensive.
Yeah, we'll do that. Let's put that down. Let's do that. It's just, because we've put a lot of time into that. So I will say, standards don't have, standards are getting away from facts that you can look up online. right? You know, so it's more, and I don't have high school social science standards here. But to say that Oklahoma City bombing is in our standards, I would say probably not. I don't know if you.
It's usually not specific
Right.
events that are necessarily used. They're looking at overall content, but skills. But they're not going to get so minute that they're going to be labeling certain events. Now, however, could, events such as that, like, be taught as a way of delivering the content?
Broken down by decades, different geographical areas at certain times, probably, things like that, or how standards are for the state.
I just have to ask, because I'm not quite sure I understand, like skills for like history or social studies. What are you talking about? Like, what kind of skills are you trying to incorporate?
Like social studies is really inquiry based. They're looking at wanting them to be thinking, inquiring, researching. That's where I mean when I'm talking about skills.
An example would be they need to look up evidence and they need to write a claim, and then they need to support their claim with evidence. And they would do that by reading through historical documents. And so it really, by having it inquiry based, it allows students to look into topics that they feel motivated to learn about. And I think that's really helpful. It's guided by the curriculum, but it also allows them to do it.
And it kind of, they talk about, think like a historian, right? Like there's, when you think of the Oklahoma City bombing, that's a single event, but what was happening contextually around some of those things that caused that. So it helps think of a more global view of those things. I would also say some other skills, map reading is probably in there somewhere at the lower grades. Civics is pretty, that's spelled out from the state on what those civics expectations are that would really hit because of the civics test.
The
every
civics
student has to
exam
take.
thing, right.
Yeah. So those are those things. Now, I wouldn't say Oklahoma City was on that, but all those things that we want students to graduate and know that we're a constitutional democracy, those things are in the civics class and have to. So.
I really struggle with, and I don't know specific to Random Lake, but the concept that it seems like more and more young kids don't have a basic understanding of how our Constitution works. They don't have a basic understanding of how you get a law made, in the, how the Senate works, how the House of Representatives works, things like that. I mean, it seems to me a lot of kids, and I'm talking about my own kids coming from the school, don't know that. Isn't that something that should be learned at this level, at a high school level? Just a basic concept of how voting, I mean, how you get a president elected, the concept of, how much representation you have based on your population, things like that. And I'm wondering, are those actual requirements in there?
That's
Because
part
I
of
don't know if
the
it's
state
coming through.
curriculum where they go through all of the legislative branches and things, that is very much covered in middle school.
I guess then it's a question of it's retained.
Yeah, well, I think that's the problem is the retention, not the. Yeah.
Because I'm just shocked that sometimes you run across people that have no concept about how the basic things happen in this country.
Well, it's surprising too, when they're going through those different units in seventh and eighth grade, how they not even aware of who their Congress people are, state or for national.
So one of the things that I might suggest, and coming from the technical college arena, every board meeting, a program presents its curriculum, status of the program, those types of things, and we might be getting into a gray area in terms of roles and responsibilities, but I do think we have an oversight responsibility. Might I suggest that we have a short presentation on not only the standards, but the curriculum that would be a formatted couple of slides on curriculum mapping, just a quick overview. I think it should already be in documentation. And I might throw that out there. I don't know if I'm opening up a can of worms or if I'm speaking out of turn, but I think, to scratch your itch, I think that would do it.
I think that would help because, again, it's not a criticism per se, but it's a concern about what's really, and I know that retention is a different issue, but are they being exposed to it? And I get that what you're saying, the concept of inquiry, that's great, that's phenomenal, but are we glossing over some fundamental facts that have occurred in this country? Because if there's not an interest, we're not gonna explore it. You know what I mean?
They don't have a background in some of the basic facts, and then they go to do their inquiry, when AI is all over the place and ChatGPT does very few things correct and science. So, but I don't know, how do they even evaluate whether the information they're getting makes sense? They've never even heard of the city bound, or anything like that.
And again, I would maybe get way too far into the weeds here, but facts are facts regardless, and if we're leaving it up to kids to decide what facts they want to learn, they might never learn facts that are fundamental to this country, how we're developed, and how we were created, and what got us from point A to point B. I mean, and if we're just leaving it up to kids to learn to inquire,
You don't know what you don't know.
you don't know what you don't, right?
And
Sometimes you have to, not to have to be all fact
It's a little more involved than just leaving it up to kids to inquire about.
okay.
They do have units of study that they're working through. Now, can they cover every single event that has ever occurred in the United States history? Obviously not. But they do talk about the big items as well, but it's also about helping them to examine how we came to where we're at societally. And that's learning from our past and moving forward. And that's what it's about, inquiry based with that. It's like, let's learn from the past to where we are now to where we can go.
I guess it's the difference of asking a student when the War of 1812 was and what were the tenets that caused the war of 1812, right? You know, because it's been and I know there's some people that'll say that it's a slide away when we didn't have kids just remember facts, but we had them actually think like historians around the things that we're trying to do. But I would say that, especially our social studies, students are thinking a lot more critically and using a lot more of those skills our employers say they want than just memorization. And that's a piece we need to look at. Now, there's always a place for memorization, right? We need to know our facts, our math facts. We need to know our phonics, things like that. But I will, and that's a piece where I don't know if we'll do a presentation, maybe next, because if you see how many hundreds of hours went into creating scope and sequence in all of our core areas and all of our elective areas, what our standards are, what our benchmarks of success are, how that's impacting our grading, we are more transparent what we want students to learn than we've ever been. Go back 10 years, social studies teachers started, we'd say, there's your room, good luck. Now we have expectations on what they need to teach, how they need to teach it, common assessments, all that stuff is part of the journey. So I would say that what the experience that your children may have had, Chuck, are very different than what
So what about like our curriculum and like we're updating the curriculum in the elementary school? How does that work in the high school?
Yeah, there are also departments meet together, elementary, middle, and high school, so everybody knows, and I've never been part of a district where elementary, middle school, and high school were all on the same page and what scope and sequence look like all when we are.
Like ELA, for example, they spent several hours in days meeting over the last school year, middle school and high school, so 6, 12, really aligning their curriculum, looking at writing specifically, trying to get deeper with that, but then they lay out each course, and then also the standards that they're looking, and then seeing where to make sure that they're sequential, that they're moving out. So they've spent a great deal of time. Then they look at, once they got that outlined, then they look at what are the resources that we need to deliver what we want students to know, we have to do in each of those courses. And so that's just a little piece. I bet you ELA is an example, but every department will.
So like for social studies or history, the teachers are determining somewhat of what they want the students to know. And I guess I'm just,
No, that's based on the state standards that are guiding that, and also like the science, you've got the state standards as well as the,
ACT,
thank you.
ACT and forward
Right,
exam.
that guides that, so No, they start with those first.
And those state standards must be somewhere, right? State standards for all these different things must be somewhere on the.
The problem with standards, so the state standards, Richard DeFore, who's kind of the godfather of this open sequence, if we were to teach every standard for every one of those areas, it would take a student until they're about 27 to hit them all. It's too vast, it's too political, there's too many things that everyone wants to have a thing in there, so what we ask is, we don't teach, we take standards and we create power standards. What are high leverage things that encompass multiple standards that our students need to be able to do before they leave that class then? And that's where these discussions are. We start with the Wisconsin state standards, but we create randomly power standards, and that's what you see on our report card. And those are the things, if you remember in high school, we don't just put an algebra grade anymore, right? We talk about algebra, and then under algebra, there's a grade for equations, there's I forget the 4 areas of algebra, because I don't in there, but we don't just talk about you got a B in algebra. You may have gotten an A in this area of algebra, you maybe got a C in this area, B. We're breaking it down. Our parents know better about what our students are because of all this. So, I know there's some of this, next month, we're actually gonna do some of this. We're starting to see, I sent some embargo data that I sent last week, which that is highly impressive at the high school. We can't share, hopefully we can share it next month. But that's showing that students are thinking a lot deeper.
It would be interesting to see if our students, myself included, like, could we pass a citizenship test? And then would our US history include, historical facts from the last 30 years? Because it seems like it kind of drops off after the Cold War. And I don't even know if they're talking about the War on Terror and Desert Storm, and do our kids even know about that? It was just a very eye-opening conversation I had. I hope it's something, especially like our high school teachers maybe would discuss in one of their groups. I mean, the critical thinking is so important. We want that, but a good knowledge of, I guess, recent history in the US, I think it's needed. So, anyway.
Might be a really
Very good feedback.
strange question, but I think all of our policies are on the Random Lake website, right? Are standards something are posted there as well, or is that?
That's the whole plan is that, parents, anyone could see our standards, what we're teaching. Yeah.
Okay, so that will be up there shortly.
And put in parent, because too many times schools talk about standards, and unless you're in education, you can't understand them. We have standards that we look at here, but then we've actually asked our staff to create parent-friendly ones, so they know what the hell we're talking about. So it's an extra step on how we're trying to be transparent, so, yeah.
So are the syllabi posted as well? Okay, so I think that would answer, in making up a class, modern American history, some of the, if you look at the syllabi, they should lay out, some of the specifics that we were talking about and link it to the specific outcomes identified in the Wisconsin standard. So, I mean, if you want to do it, I suggest that, have a deeper conversation about
Let us get to a point where we can show and see how it's out there, and I think from that, then we can talk about it, but we put so much work, it's a good time to really get this out there. I'm putting it on the agenda here, and we'll see if it's not in the August, we have a lot of stuff on August, if it's not August, we would definitely do it in September, okay, so, we'll go from there.
Thank you.
You bet.
Thank you.
Anything else on, standards? I saw that, Rainey, you're smiling. We need to establish times of our annual meeting and the budget hearing. Our annual meeting is set for Monday, October 27th, 2025. In the past, we have done a 6:15 budget hearing and a 6:30 annual meeting. Is that something that
Last year, we talked about doing that earlier, if I'm not mistaken. And now that we will have our regular board meeting doing that, it might. I don't remember exactly what time we said, but I thought it was something like maybe moving up an hour.
So we would do the annual meeting before the actual, monthly board meeting? Is that what we?
We wound up doing it last year that way because of something with, something with the budget.
When we actually got our numbers, is we
Before
put it
we had our meetings on the fourth Monday, now it's gonna kind of fly, but I remember we talked about.
So I guess the question for the board, would you want to meet 2 Mondays in a row or just one longer Monday?
I like one longer Monday personally. Can you get some thumbs up?
Yeah.
Brian, thumbs up.
And I, for some reason, I was thinking that we said that we would do the regular meeting first, and if we had to adjourn to do the annual meeting, and then come back to, that way it leaves the annual meeting more.
I think you have to approve the budget and the meeting after the annual.
Yeah, so it needs to be annual meeting first, I think, and then the.
Okay,
That's how it has to,
Yeah.
yeah.
right, because we usually do that, yeah. Okay, yeah,
We have it in policy somewhere with that, but yeah, I think the right, there needs to be a board meeting after the annual. meeting.
right, yeah, that,
Time, we could do whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know.
For the annual. Yeah, I think we could do the budget hearing in 10 to 15 minutes. We could do the annual meeting in a half, I mean, if it goes over, it goes over. If people wanna come and have conversations and it takes 2 hours to do a half-hour meeting. We don't really set times to this either, right? We just would push back to that. Yeah,
Earlier.
exactly. Yeah. I came in a district that they used to start meetings 2 hours after they're supposed to, so, yeah. So we've been pretty good with staying.
Thank you for not doing that.
Yeah, thank you.
so we wanna do like a 5:15 budget and a 5:30 annual,
6 o'clock,
monthly?
Sure.
and we'll try to make sure we have no committee meetings that month. I mean, I think we should be at a point that we don't always have committee meetings every month.
Well, we could do them before,
We could do before,
we could do them before the annual.
Yeah.
So, clear your Monday that day, so you can do earlier if you have to.
So,
All right, so,
5:15 budget, 5:30 annual, 6 o'clock regular.
yes. Is that a motion, Katie?
Sure. I'm with the 5:30.
Is there a second?
Second.
Amy, any other questions? Thank you again, Kim. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Informational items.
Okay, I'll try to get through these. I sent you that email, and I think I said the stat earlier. I think it's a really great talking point, right? 20 years ago, state of Wisconsin was right around the top 10 in funding in public schools. Now, we're in the bottom half of the country. So, I know every year our politicians like to say that we have a record amount of money investing in the school. Well, the thing is, every time they put another dollar than they did the year before, it's a record, right? That's how it works. So, there's actually a group, and if anyone is interested here, Sheboygan County, we're trying to get a board member from each one of the districts together to put a letter together to let, just the legislators know that by funding a second school system, by vouchers and some of these other things, that it is having an impact on us. So, I will get that meeting out. If any of you would like to be present, I will be going. And when we craft this county-wide letter, we'll make sure that we're good with it, with everyone else. But just trying to get that message out. So, just a place for us to advocate with that. Big thank you to Susan. This is Brian Sevener. This is our new STEM lab. If you remember, Brian, donated $60,000 to the district, and through that, and I should say, over the next few years, is going to promise that amount. That number has now been doubled, and the fast forward is matching that 60,000. So, not only are we gonna have a really great STEM lab physically, we're gonna have everything we need inside. So, all that $120,000 going to all kinds of really cool elementary, middle school science stuff. So, just, yeah, just it's fantastic. And I know, I know Cindy and Debbie and everybody's really excited about it. So now we have to spend that money too on top of everything else going on, but it's good that way. Charlie Barron's. Yeah, we walked in, the auditorium's looking good. We still got a month out, but totally sold out. We are auctioning off tickets and meet and greets with them. Last I looked, I think it was about $180 for a two-person meet and greet, but we have all the way to 3 and 4 people. So that is a fundraiser for our new playground. That'll be our elementary playground. So we are gonna do very well. We are also working with the entertainment district, because we can't, Charlie Barron's likes his old fashions, right? But we can't have old fashions here. So there is talk about having old fashions at the entertainment district for anybody that wants to, and then come in here for that. So keep an eye out with collaboration. We're doing it with that. So what's that?
Shouldn't it be the other way around?
What's that?
Come to the show and then have the drink?
Yeah. Well, it could be either way, you know, it depends on who and what you have, what you wanna do. So there'll be, we're actually, using some of our buses, so everybody needs to get back and forth, we can kinda go. So just trying to help our local business. We're gonna have 400 people, hopefully having a fun time. So all of the businesses down there, we're working with the Random Lake, Chamber of Commerce to make it kind of a cool thing. It's not every day you get somebody like that with a private, showing there. So thank you to Career, thank you to our friends at Jolly Good, and thanks for just being another creative way to fundraise. And then lastly, Copernicus is a company that you're going to hear a little bit more next month. You're going to see a little bit more at our open house. They have been a company that has really worked around getting movement in classrooms. Susie Gano has been working with this company for over a decade. And they do things like wiggle chairs, pedal bikes, or pedal desks, and things like that. And starting next year, every one of our classrooms in the elementary will have Copernicus pedal desks and other wiggle things that they can do to just stay active. And part of our structured adventure, we are also, they're donating climbing structures to put into our forest, our school forest path. And this goes along with our rock climbing wall and all these other cool things. So they're really excited. We're the first district that's doing an all-district kind of adventure structured thing like this. And they've given us everything at cost or donated directly to us. So really kind of a fun thing, and we're hoping that this just grows and we find ways to help students. You know, I think that one of the big things nationally is we're over medicating, especially our boys, right? And some of them want to climb, they want to do those things. Well, let's find ways to get that energy out that's not medication. So I think we're one of the first really looking at this as a way to educate the whole child, and looking forward to you'll hear more as we keep moving.
When you say next year, you're talking about this coming school year.
This school year, yes, yeah. So I think they're coming September. They're coming the first or second week of September. The pedal desks are. The rock climbing walls getting installed. The auto belayers are getting installed here in the next 3 weeks. And we're just going to keep making this part of. We've already done some of this. Like, we've taken our kids out in the community. They go on the Gables. They've gone to the library. We do the triathlon, like a lot of these things. Now we're kind of bringing it to cohesive together as something that's part of our community.
It's a quick question on Charlie Barron's. What is the sold out, what is the capacity of how many tickets?
I'll say it's 427.
Okay.
I think it's somewhere around the 400. So yes. And then we kept the front row for these auction sites to make a little bit more with that one. They seem to be doing very well.
Anything else?
No, sorry.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Chuck, is there a second? Chris? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, everyone.
So we opened it to staff, to Career, and to all members of the chamber. And then from there, we still had about 100 tickets. And then we opened it up to, we opened up to more parents. Yeah, and then just-
You wanna talk to her?
Come on.